This is NHTV2, North Haven Government Television, a service of North Haven Community Television. The following program is brought to you through the support of the Town of North Haven.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for the month of August 3rd, 2018. My name is Vern Carlson, and I'm the chairman of the commission. And we have just a few agendas tonight, a few items on the agenda tonight. There's been a few removed, and if I can go to the staff before we get going and ask him what has been, if there is any changes.
Well, yes, we have a few changes. Items number 1 and 7, P1820S and P1820 have been continued to the 10th of September. Item number 3, P1824, the regulations amendment has been postponed. That probably, if it's revised, won't pop back up until October because they won't be able to get it back to regional planning in time.
This one?
Yeah.
So, additionally, items 5 and 6, P1807, P1807A have been withdrawn by the applicant. They simply ran out of time. In items 9 and 10, P1826 and P1826A are postponed to 10 September just to get through wetlands.
Okay, so if anybody here for any of those items, they will not be here tonight. With that, let me introduce our staff. Jonathan Bodwell, out to my extreme right, is our town engineer. Alan Fredrickson, land use administrator. My left is Mary Lee Radjuski. She is our court reporter. Next to her is Pam Miller, our staff secretary. And with that,
Ann Holman, alternate. Jim Gilletti, regular member.
Teresa Ranciato-Vili, regular member.
Ron Penton, vice chair.
Richard Wilson, secretary.
Lloyd Borelli, alternate.
okay, well, with that,
Excuse me, Mr. Katz was raising his hand when you were asking about what they were here
Did you
for.
say August 3rd?
August 3rd
Today's
on
August 6th.
what?
Today's August 6th.
It's all noticed for August 6th, the date that
No, the
the...
meeting is August.
Yeah, I have August 3rd on my yeah, we got the August 6th here. Okay, thank you, you're correct. Sure. Okay, with that being said, we have a couple of public hearings, and for those of you who may not know, the applicant will present the application. The commission will listen to it, have their say, and then we'll open up that to the public. They'll have their say, and then the applicant will have to rebut that, and then we will close the application. Then we will move on to site plans. Site plans, there is no public input. And of course, deliberation, there is no public input. So with that being said, if our secretary would read the call of the first public hearing, which is P18-23S. That's a special permit application.
P18-23S special permit application of Sisters of the Sacred Heart of Jesus, applicant and owner relative to 94 Chapel Hill Road, map 69, lot 81, plan entitled Sacred Heart of Jesus Daycare Preschool Kindergarten, 94 Chapel Hill Road, North Haven, Connecticut, 06473, dated June 7, 2018. The scale is 1 inch for 20 feet. It's an R zone 40, R40 zoning district.
Okay, Rick, are you representing that?
Yes, can I sit or do you want me someplace?
Well, right up there, Mike.
Okay, my name is Frederick Camp Jr., office and address 74 Washington Avenue, Unit 473, North Haven. So I'm the trustee for the applicants, the sisters, and I spent a good amount of days trying to reconcile what we're trying to do here tonight. You probably have heard scuttlebutt about this conflict with the sisters in the church. It's been going on for nearly a year. It's hit the newspapers, a lot of people up in arms. If we had this meeting last month, likely you would have needed a hall for the number of people that probably would have come out. I don't want to take a lot of your time, but I want to give you a history so you can understand where we are, where we're going with this whole thing. The sisters, as you know, have been over there for years. They acquired, I'm going to pass these around so you can kind of follow along if you have not been by the property. The first picture is the picture of the convent, or the property that we're talking about in this application. The second, I think, is the rear. There is a driveway showing the school building next door, and then finally the school building, which is not part of this application, but just so you can get an overall idea about the campus, if you want to call it that, they have over there. They acquired the convent back in '82, and then shortly thereafter in '88 acquired the school building, or the building to the right. And they've been operating there for about 30 years. They actually took out an application back in 1988 before this commission for a change of use to the school, and that was accepted. About a year, not quite a year ago, a memorandum was circulated at the church on the corner over here, whereby the parish was informing the people that they were going to close the sister school. The reasoning was largely based on, they have another school in the south part of town, and they wanted to put their resources into that school. They also made claims that the enrollment wasn't enough to sustain the school, and that was the primary reason. But kind of what came out of it was the sisters were given no warning, or little warning, and there was a lot of behind-the-scenes activity regarding this whole thing. Needless to say, they were treated very poorly by just about any measure, thus the quantity of people that came out and got mad about it. Over the years, the school building was owned by the parish. The Sisters Convent was owned by the sisters. Two distinct and separate organizations. The only commonality, which of course is the Catholic faith, and they're overseen by the Archdiocese in Hartford. Over the years, there was concern on the parish's side and on the sisters' side over what would happen if one decided to close their school. Either the sisters decided to close the school or the parish decided to close the school. And they worked up written agreements whereby, in this particular case, if the parish decided to close the school, then the sisters were given the option to purchase the building. When they announced that they were closing the school, the parish, I'm not sure if the forces at the school knew anything about these written agreements, and they acted either as if they didn't know anything about the agreements, or they were paying no attention to them, and they merely closed the school. The downside of it was is it interrupted the summer program for the sisters. It also economically harmed them in a big way. They're literally down to hot dogs and beans because that's their sole source of income. So the sisters decided that in order to survive, literally, they had to keep their school going in some way. they decided to take out an application with this commission to open the school in the convent, and they didn't know whether they'd ever get their other school building back. The parish wasn't answering as to what they were going to do. As a matter of fact, to this day, I still don't know what they're going to do. So the sisters are sitting there wondering, well, what are we going to do? Maybe if we take out an application and before this commission and ask for permission to operate our school in a attenuated way. In other words, a small number of students just to keep it going, that might be their best, the best they could do. So we put together the application. Most of it was crafted by myself. Excuse the engineering and the drawings and so forth, but it took months to put all this stuff together. And when it came time to sending out the notices to the surrounding neighbors by registered mail, of course, the school building was owned by the parish, and they had to be advised, which they were. In fact, I brought the letter personally to Father Santiago's office to make sure he received it. I think it was the following day, a letter was sent down by a person up at the Archdiocese, scolding the sisters in a number of different ways. I think that letter's in the file. And ordering them to withdraw the planning and zoning application, which is interesting. Because as we know, the planning and zoning application has nothing to do with the Archdiocese of Hartford. It's, the property is owned by them and nobody else, although the Archdiocese does give their blessing, so to speak, as to the operation of the school within the Catholic faith. So inasmuch as they have some sway, they certainly don't have any sway when it comes to the Real Estate Commission or the real estate property, nor the Planning and Zoning Commission. So that's where we find ourselves here with this tonight again. So needless to say, over the months that followed that announcement from the parish of the schools closing, the parents of the children attending the school, and a generation of kids and families got up in arms, the likes of which I've never seen in all the years of doing these things. A lot of letters were sent, media involvement, just goes on and on. The result of it is that it got even the Archbishop's attention. A couple of weeks ago, the Archbishop ordered the sisters to show up at his office on Monday morning, I think it was, and Father Santiago was also up there, and they said, okay, we're not closing the school anymore. So it's a complete reversal from where we started. And the idea was that the Archdiocese or the parish maybe was to give the sisters a year to see how they would make out running the school and see if they could get the number of children up and so forth. They seem still to be ignoring the written agreements whereby they could take title to the property with a proper appraisal and selling off of the parish's interest. I have no idea what they're going to do. I've been chasing Father Santiago around for 6 months, and infrequently do I ever get to talk to him. So I really don't know what their motivations are. So this is kind of an interesting situation where we have an application before you, yet I don't want to exercise it. In other words, it looks as if they may get the use of their school back. Yet I don't know what they're doing because I haven't seen anything written. And unless we have something written, I have nothing as far as I'm concerned. I don't know why, I don't know what their intentions are as far as transferring the property. I can't make them go to a closing. I really don't know what they're going to do. So hopefully, the way it stands, the Archbishop and I have to credit him maybe for intervening here, that he gathered up both parties and said, make up. Because there's a lot of friction over this. There still is a lot of hard feelings, and it continues because of the parish's inability to communicate with the people in the parish, largely the way I see it. So I guess what I'm asking for is the granting of the application with the idea we may never use it. In other words, if the school is allowed to continue, then there's no need for it. But if something comes along over the following months that they need something as a backup, then they were right back to square one again. And as much as it may seem incidental to bring an application before this commission, I can tell you it took me a hell of a lot of work. I have a renewed respect for how much surveyors get paid and engineers, no offense. And I just don't know which way it's going to go.
Well, let me ask you a question, Rich. What would you expect us to do with this application that's got before us?
I guess, this is, of course, it's your decision whether to accept it or not accept it, but that's almost a separate issue. I guess what I'm asking is that you accept it or grant it with the provision that it may not be used. And if it was to be used, I would, of course, notify Alan, and I'm not trying to hide anything, nor the sisters. I'm just trying to protect their interests, and I just don't know which way the parish is going to go because they won't communicate. It's got a crazy situation.
Well, why don't you just take what you have? And if in fact they give them the school back, then you don't need this at all.
If they get the school back,
You don't need anything.
this was a waste of all of our time.
Right. If in fact it doesn't, why don't you just come back before us?
I don't want to go down the road and then have to start the application all over again in 5 minutes' notice. They already lost the summer program, or at least for a period of time, because of the last-minute notification. They were out of business. I can't trust them again, is what I'm saying. As much as it's the Catholic Church, that's just the way it played out.
Well, I don't think, we can talk amongst ourselves in the commission, Rick, but I don't think we're going to say, well, we'll grant you the right to use the property next door as a nursery school if you need it. If you don't need it, you don't use it.
Yeah,
You just can't leave it right out there in limbo.
Yeah, I don't want to, I'm not trying to make your life difficult.
Excuse me, you should really be at the microphone.
I'm sorry, I'm not hearing. It's not supposed to.
Can I just offer up a couple of comments? This is a special permit request without a site plan. The site plan that Mr. Camp provided is to illustrate what the use is and what the site conditions are. If you grant a special permit, you're granting a special permit. The request is for number 94 Chapel Hill Road. Now, if you grant it, he's going to get an approval letter, and it's going to say, you've been granted a special permit, you have 1 year to file it. Okay? It's extendable by up to 2 6-month extensions. Now, if he doesn't file it, then they can continue to use the special permit that they have for number 90. Now, the only issue is, I don't know how concerned you would be about having 2 special permits. So he's all set. They can keep operating their school at number 90, and they don't need anything from you.
Right.
So if you grant the second one, he could hold it in abeyance, potentially, but it could be exclusive to say you're granting to relocate within a certain time. If you wanted to move the one to the other location. Now, what I do have a problem with is the drawing shows only number 94. The drawing doesn't show 90. I have a problem with the school being operated out of both locations.
Right.
I don't have a problem with that necessarily, but the way this is set up, I do. So I don't know what your prerogative is
Well, but you're not asking to do it at both locations, right? You want one or the other.
going to be one or the other.
So let me understand what you're saying, but if we granted this special permit, would they have to come back in with a site plan before they could open the school at 94?
You
See,
could,
this is, I don't think, I'm sure none of us have any problem with the daycare at one or the other. The problem is at both, right? Right. So can we grant it conditioned at the other one be closed or not be opened in order for this special permit, or put some condition on it? I know what he's saying, he doesn't want to have to start the ball rolling again. If they don't let him go next door, he wants to open it in this place, which, for me, that's fine by me, as long as I don't want to, at least without us discussing, there'd be two.
see, I think if they were, I'm sorry, I think you could grant the relocation of the school, and he would have a year extendable by 2 6-month additional
But it would
periods.
have to be relocated, they couldn't open both of them.
Or I'd have to come back with another application
Right.
to
To
do both.
ask for two.
Which, the best I see, that would never happen.
I see, and you could,
Right.
that's a different discussion, we could have that
And
discussion.
there is a site plan, by the way, Alan.
Of the other
that-
parcel.
On the other, did you see it?
There is.
I'm not sure that I did, I don't.
I have it,
recall. Okay.
I found it anyhow.
But that would have to be made a part of this, and you have to do notifications.
Right.
That would include the perimeter of both properties, et cetera, et cetera.
That's not what we're trying to do here.
Exactly.
I think
get
you
what you're
understand that,
trying-
yeah.
And I would like you not to have to reinvent the wheel. So could we grant the special permit conditioned on the closing of number 90?
You could, but I think he's still subject to those time limits, because to have that special permit active on number 90, I think you'd grant it, if that's what you want to do, grant the relocation of the school
Okay.
within 1 year, and you have to forfeit the other special permit and file this one.
That's fine.
Or reapply altogether.
Right, absolutely, you can always do that.
Right, okay. I mean, that's fine. You see what I'm trying to do here?
I do.
Yeah, no.
I'm not
And we're not trying
trying
to block
to
it.
manipulate anybody or
Right.
do anything, you know.
But that having been said, I still have some questions. Let's say you are going to relocate it to number 94.
Yes.
What percentage of that building is going to be a residence, and what percentage is going to be
The complete, the lower level.
The lower level would
It's
be the
it's a
school?
it's a two-story building, the lower level. In fact, I have this,
It's fine, but
it took me a while.
The other aspect, Jim, you alluded to is, do they have to come back for site plan? No, not if you don't want them to, because if you're satisfied with what he has here, it can be a de facto change of use.
I got it.
I just want to clarify, okay, it's a change of use to upstairs residence, downstairs school
but
slash.
it's relocation of the other school. If
Yeah.
they want something other than that, they gotta come back.
The it would also be fair to say that the Archdiocese had some apprehension about the sisters running the school out of their house for the simple matter of living quarters are there. And given the history of child abuse over at least the last decade or so, that's not looked upon favorably, which is understandable. I'm trying also, in addition to trying to protect the sisters, I'm trying to be respectful to the Archbishop, who's helped worked very hard with this, I think. I'm not trying to sandbag anybody anywhere on this.
Rick, on the other building that you're talking about moving out, is them still gonna live on the second floor?
The sisters live on the second floor.
They
They
are?
don't use the first floor other than,
Yeah.
incidental use.
It's the same thing.
And they also, I might add, Vern, I asked Sister Jacinta about this on more than once. It looked like they were only looking for like 10 children. They would not have 30-something, which is what the other application
Yeah, I know,
approved.
the building you're in now is considerably bigger.
Yeah,
set up
oh, yes,
differently
and the
than
entire
what
building
we
is
talked
dedicated
about
to the
going
school.
into.
So it would be a much pared down.
It would be toned down.
Yes, yes, it would be. Which you can see why I don't really want it to go that way. I mean, they have to live. This is their sole source of income. Believe it or not. I mean, I'm not kidding you with the hot dogs and beans. So, anyhow.
Well, how are we gonna? Public.
Well, if you want to, if it's the commission's prerogative to approve it, I would just flat out say that it is a relocation of the school. They will have 1 year to pull the trigger, and he can come back within 1 year and ask for the 2 extensions. So in effect, he'd have 2 years to pull the trigger on it. That might be enough to get through this little spell with the archdiocese. And then if you spell out specifically, the school be on the lower level, the residents on the upper level, and then I don't know if you want to spell out a limitation in terms of the number of students. I think that would be a
The
typical.
big key is that the permit, if we went that way, would be grant a special permit to relocate so that the other one couldn't open at the same time without them coming to us. If that works for you
Yeah.
guys. That's what I would think.
What would you need, Ron, Rick, in respect to how many students in the new school?
I think that the magic number is like 10 to 15, it seems to me, is a magic number as far as using residences as daycare. I don't know the exact number, but my conversation with her that it was somewhere down around that number, 10 to 15. I don't think it's 15, it was like 10, 12, something like that.
Is there a number on the school that you're in now?
There, the previous application from, I think, was 88, from 88, seems to me it was 38. I have the map if you want me to
Yeah,
tell
no,
you exactly.
no, it's all right, just want, we're certainly not gonna go with
No,
that
it would
amount.
be-
Right, no, I think we know
limited.
how we can do that, yeah.
I have that other site plan if you want to see that.
No, I'm quite
I
familiar
have
with
it here
it,
if
so.
anybody wants to see it. Or anything else you can think you want to see.
We've marked the 4 photos, Exhibit A, together, and we'll mark the floor plan, Exhibit B.
Okay, you got any input on this, Ron? No. No. Rick?
No.
Lou? No. Ed? No. Jim?
Good.
Anyone?
No,
You?
good.
Okay. Rick, we'll talk it over a little bit.
No, no, it's a public hearing, you gotta
I'm
ask
sorry?
for comment.
Public.
You gotta ask for comment.
Yeah, yeah.
What are you in favor of?
I will. I promise, I will. I say, I think we've got enough right here on the commission. We'll open it up to the
We
public.
gotta hear from the public.
Thanks so much for listening.
Okay. Is there anyone here who would like to speak in favor of this application? Mary?
Mary White Summerlane. I would definitely be in favor of the commission approving this. I think give the sisters an opportunity that if what they have going now doesn't work out, so that they have this as a backup plan. Because just the way things are, not only within the church, but just with other businesses and everything, they could have a change of heart. You know, sometimes they change archbishops, you know, people float in and out, and so maybe this guy, this archbishop that said, okay, you know, we changed our mind, you know, we'll give you an opportunity. Well, maybe he's gone, you know, in 6 months or whatever, and somebody else comes in, and he's like, no, it is not making enough money, you know, kind of thing. So I just think whatever you can do to give them like this I guess I'm calling it a backup plan, I would appreciate it. So, I mean, even, I would be in favor of, I don't know if you can do it, but Alan was saying about a year to do it, pull the trigger, and then 2 6-month extensions. If you can give them more, that would be great. If you can't, I understand, but I'd be in favor of it.
Thank you, Mary. Anyone else? Anyone else in favor? Anyone in opposition? Any questions? Commission? Staff? It's closed. Public hearing is closed. Okay.
I got what I need. You got one? You have one? No.
Okay.
I do.
Okay. I don't know about that one. Okay, are we all set here? Rich, you want to read in P 1824?
Sure.
That's postponed. I'm sorry?
28?
28, no, it's 28.
24, number 4. Is that still on?
Okay, he said 24.
So P18-24, modification of subdivision approval.
It's P1828.
I'm
Sorry. Go ahead.
P1828, modification of subdivision approval. P14-04 of Joe Maneri, applicant, Blue Hills Development, LLC, Ralph Iacone, Jennifer Maneri, owners relative to 217 Kings Highway, map 93, lot 38, 2 Blue Hill Road, map 93, lot 84. 4 Blue Hill Road, map 93, lot 85, plan entitled Property Located at Blue Hills Road and Kings Highway, North Haven, Connecticut, prepared by Friscola Engineering LLC, dated 1/23/2014, revised 6/18/18. The scale is 1 inch, equals 30 feet. It's an R40 zoning district.
Okay, good evening. My name is Barbara Schellenberg. I'm from the law firm of Cohen and Wolf, and I, Schellenberg. And I represent the applicants Joseph Maneri and Blue Hills Development LLC. We are seeking approval for a modification of a subdivision approval that was granted in 2014. And specifically, we are asking the commission to remove the requirement that the public water service on Kings Highway be extended 450 feet north of Blue Hills Road to service the subdivision. Instead, what we are seeking is approval for public water service for the subdivision from Blue Hills Road. The history of this is the commission granted the 3-lot subdivision back in 2014. The original plan was to bring the water line up Kings Highway, but after the subdivision approval was granted, the Regional Water Authority, the RWA, put out a bid saying it would cost $90,000 just to service Lot 3. And that was over 17% of the total cost for that one lot. So that was obviously a cost-prohibitive number for the developer, especially considering that lots 1 and 2 were already serviced by water coming from Blue Hills Road. As a matter of fact, before the subdivision was approved, the entire parcel was serviced with water from Blue Hills Road. What we did to address this situation is to re-subdivide by transferring a small piece of property, 10 feet, from Lot 1 to Lot 3. And as noted in the staff report, that small re-subdivision did not require commission approval, but it did permit the installation of underground utilities from Blue Hills Road. As a result, all lots in the subdivision can now be serviced with water from Blue Hills Road. So what is most significant is that the RWA has already allowed this tie-in for water service from Blue Hills Road, and therefore we have a de facto approval from the RWA. Additionally, it's important to note, we have not changed the number of lots with this small re-subdivision. We had 3 lots before, we still have 3 lots. There's just been this slight change to the lot lines to allow for the water access. And we have not changed the access. In light of the frontage on Blue Hills, the entire subdivision could be reconfigured so that all 3 lots have driveway access off Blue Hills Drive with approval as of right. However, we understand that this would not be as aesthetically pleasing for the neighborhood, so we are trying to accommodate the character of the neighborhood with this proposal. We also have provided consent letters from all lot owners for a requested modification. We believe that we fully comply with the regulations, so we ask for your approval. And I'm happy to answer any questions the commission has.
Has anything changed since the last time this was brought before us?
I'm sorry, what do you mean the last time? Are you talking about the pre-application?
No, the same request for the relief of condition was made a couple of months ago, and I'm just asking if anything's changed since then.
No, I don't believe so. But I think that was a pre-application. I don't think the application had been
Let's just
filed
clarify,
yet.
the things that have changed is this is a formal application that was brought in under other. The other thing that changed is that they did reconfigure the lot to get the frontage on Blue Hill, to have the utilities be able to come out and be on that lot's property. So you say that anything changed, those things changed. The bottom line, I mean, let's be clear, this is a condition of the approval that the Planning and Zoning Commission approved. They're asking you to remove that condition. So it's not the water company's requirement, it's not QVHD's requirement, or what have you. That's a non-issue. So it's simply, you guys did not require it per se. They offered it. They put it on the drawings, and it was approved as a part of the submission, public benefit. So that's where we sit. They are now asking formally for that waiver or removal. I don't really want to call it a waiver, an exemption. They want you to remove the condition.
The condition to bring the water to the, now this would bring the water to the far end, the most easterly end of the... Northerly or easterly?
Northerly.
Northerly.
The water's in Blue Hills Road. The proposal, the original approval indicated that the water would be brought north from Blue Hills Road, directly north, roughly 450 feet in Kings Highway.
Now, that would benefit anybody that's built in the future on the other end of the subdivision, is that correct? That would get
It
them a little...
extends the water northerly.
Yeah. Whoever.
Yeah, it would benefit someone to the north, presumably.
Okay.
But again, this was, just for one lot, so that's true. It would benefit others, but, they would basically get the benefit at our expense for this one lot. That again, I think it wasn't realized before how cost prohibitive it was going to be to do this. And we do have, as I said, the RWA approval now, basically, for the access, the water from Blue Hills at this point.
I understand what happened, and I understand what you're requesting. But from my perspective, the application came in, and it's been the history of this commission to extend water lines where possible, usually through this sort of means, for future use for other people. It was offered, it was approved that way. I understand that the cost came back higher than people estimated. It's never been made clear to me how that happened, but regardless, it was offered, it was approved. If we were to give it back right now, I think it just hurts future development of the town. So I don't really see what the town gets out of giving this back, except making it harder for other people if they want to in the future to tie into public water. So I'm not personally, I don't really see anything that helps us out by granting this request.
Okay, I'm happy, I don't know if my client has anything to add regarding, exactly what the situation was, why it was originally offered and then turned out to be much more expensive than originally thought. I don't know if perhaps there's anything that might help the commission in that regard.
Why don't you, go ahead. What's your
State my name.
Name and address.
Joe Maneri, 11 Allendale, North Haven. From what I'm told, that if we re-subdivided with the driveway coming off of Blue Hills, that we could get the water the way it is now currently, because we have, I think the frontage is to be minimum of 25 feet per driveway. There's 2 rear lots, so there'll be 25, 25, and then 100, which there's 170 feet of frontage, I think. This is off memory. So I think the reason why we proposed it that way was because we wanted to get the Kings Highway lot to face the street and to have the correct grading without, having any hazardous conditions getting to the house in the back, because it would have been done on a downslope. It made more sense to propose it the way we did, not knowing that, it was going to be the cost of $92,000, and our bond estimate was 21, so it was kind of overlooked at the time. So that's where this all kind of drew a flag.
Okay. Jonathan, does that figure out right,
By state statute, we can only bond for public improvements and soil erosion. Our great legislators up there decided to go along with their building, and we can only bond for very minor things.
Were you asking about the frontage?
COs are
So
required.
so you mean they don't consider water an improvement, or they? Okay.
You've got a requirement, they have a requirement imposed by the approval of their plans. They're seeking a certificate of occupancy at this point.
No, I understand that.
They're
I'm
not
asking
complete.
Jonathan.
We can bond it at that point when they want the C of O, then we can bond that if need be. We could bond for the completion of all that work. So the state statute becomes moot in regards to that, in that we would gain, once they gain occupancy, we gain the right to bond for it. Or we gain the right to bond prior to occupancy.
Mr. Carlson, were you asking about the frontage, or were you talking about the bonding?
no, I was just checking to see what the cost would, does the cost figure out?
Well, it was the water it was the water company's estimate that.
Oh, that was, okay, 92,000?
92,000.
Give or take a few bucks. But they, an understanding that the water company has the right to dictate to their designated contractor. So their proposal is their proposal. To a certain extent, that's what you pay. They gave him the number, and that's his number.
Excuse me, if we had all 3 driveways coming off of Blue Hills, would we be going through this today?
Yes.
Well, that's sort of a moot point. I mean, there was an application.
You would be okay or not okay?
Not okay.
Wouldn't matter.
Rich? You want to get on this, Rich?
Well, I mean, I think if we gave the approval for them going down Kings Highway, it's hard to go back on it.
Well, can I ask a question? If they did come in with all three driveways off of Blue Hills Road, would any of the addresses have been Kings Highway? So would it have been the same in bringing up the water?
Doesn't make any difference. He proposed to extend the water.
Oh, no, I understand,
It was approved
but-
with that manner. He's not required to do it now, other than the commission require him to do it.
Right, but would we have asked for that if it were a Blue Hills Road subdivision, is my question. Would we have done that? Would it have been opposed?
Sure, I don't think it would make any difference. You didn't ask for it to begin with.
Okay, right.
He put it on the plan.
Right, it was put on the plans, right.
No, I get that, but
Right.
I'm a little confused myself. First of all, like, if this were to be granted, where would the driveway go for proposed lot 3? Blue
To the
Hills?
right of, it would go to the right of
Kings Highway.
King,
It would still go on
no,
Kings Highway.
no, it would go on Blue Hills, to the right of the entrance.
Getting two different answers.
Can you
I don't know the lot
show us on the plan?
This is 71 feet, so you're only 25.
can't hear his testimony.
Yeah, you have to
Okay.
talk loud enough she can hear you. Sure, go ahead.
You're talking about two different things. You're talking about two different things. He's talking about changing it to 25-foot strip out to Blue Hills versus
Right.
of what this plan is showing. This plan is showing the driveway coming out to Kings.
Yeah,
Which plan are you talking about? The one he hasn't?
Yeah, the
shown now?
one that's before you tonight.
Okay,
Right, sure.
so, but
I don't see a
he's,
driveway.
The minimum requirement's 25 feet frontage per driveway. So if we were to move the driveway and put it to the right of 4 Blue Hills, we would be able to grant access to the back and still have enough
But
square
really,
footage.
you're not, the driveway is irrelevant. In terms of subdividing the property,
Yeah.
you need the 25 feet of frontage. They have far more than that along Kings Highway. Mr. Maneri is saying he can also provide that 25 feet along Blue Hills. It doesn't really make any difference, you know, in the land use sense. It's not something that's required by the water company. The only thing the water company says is if you're going to extend it, you have to extend it along the entire frontage. So it doesn't matter where the driveway comes off.
I get that,
Yeah.
but I still don't know where it is. Where is it on lot 3?
it's not shown on
Right
this.
now, it's Kings Highway.
Right, but it's not
And
shown
the
exactly
proposal-
where.
That's what in
When you
front
say
of you
right
is
now it's Kings Highway.
Right.
One at a time, please.
No, I understand, it's not shown right now for lot 3 where the driveway is on this plan. There's no, okay, but it's not noted on the plan is what I'm saying.
Okay,
Right,
so,
okay.
but it is Kings Highway right now. So the next question would be, and this is, if they had done this in the first place, you know, we have a habit of wanting to bring water up all the way across, no question. If they'd come here originally, would we, with this plan, would we have wanted them to bring water up here?
I would have thought, in our motions...
That's generally what we do.
We would have brought it to your attention that it wasn't shown on the plan in asking whether you would want to extend it or not.
To bring the water up, because that's what we've done with other subdivisions, right?
Right.
I mean, and that's where we've run into problems, people complaining to us that we tell them they have to do it, and we've said they had to do it.
Right, so you're telling me that if they had come and said, here's the subdivision plan, it would not have looked like this, it would have looked like 3 driveways coming off of Blue Hills Road with the proposed water coming in from Blue Hills Road, would we have then said we wanted the water to pull up all the way 500 feet? That's what I'm asking. Because if they proposed from the beginning, which would have been maybe thought this through a little bit, if the water was coming off Blue Hills Road, I'm wondering what we would have done. And that's why I'm asking that question, because, you know.
I think the answer is I don't know.
Right.
Unfortunately, I don't know what would have happened at that point. it got proposed in that manner. As we said, the commission's tendency has been to ask for as much
extend
public benefit
public water,
as they
right.
could get. If
Right.
it came to shove, and Barbara had come in and said, you have no right to, in 2014, you have no right to require them to extend that water main, I'm not sure.
Well, if I can just follow up on that, I think that that's basically our position now. We're here on a re-subdivision application, which is the same as a subdivision application. It's an administrative decision, and I think as long as we have the approval from the regulatory authority, I don't see any basis in the regulations for denying our request. That's our position. I do think in some of these other situations that perhaps somebody was coming looking for an additional lot, which, again, we are not doing. It's the same situation. So that's our position. Respectfully, I don't think that the commission can just deny this because that's what happened in 2014. We're coming before you now with a new application. We're seeking the modification. We have the regulatory approval. I don't see anything in the regulations that permits a denial, frankly.
So you're saying legally we can't do that? We can't?
I believe that's the case. I don't see anything in the regulations that prohibits this. So again, I don't think this is not a discretionary, it's not a special permit application. It's a re-subdivision application, which is the same as any subdivision application. It's an administrative decision.
So I think I agree with that for what it's worth, that it's a decision you can make. You can make either way. The only
Well, she didn't say we
question
could
is,
make it either way.
well, it
Legal
is.
speak, she said, this is what you have to do.
Well,
That's what she said.
The issue I have then up to a point is that it was required on a plan. If you're seeking to change that, the opportunity to appeal a particular condition was within 15 days of that approval. So we're coming back, we're asking for something. There's no other requirement other than that it was on the plan and it was required as a part of the subdivision. So it is something that's discretionary, but it's a question of consistency and public benefit, in my opinion. Again, I'm not advocating in either direction on any of that.
Well, I mean, council's position is not that we could go either way. Fair?
Yes, I don't see anything in the regulations that would prohibit this under these circumstances with regulatory
Seems
authority.
to me that in the face of that, we should get an opinion by our council.
Okay.
And that's because I'm with where Ron was before as well. Look, we wanted to bring it up, we offered to bring it up, I think we should bring it up. But if we can't require them to do this, we should, our lawyers may disagree, they disagree all the time. But we should find out what our lawyer says, in my opinion. Whichever way you guys want to go.
Okay.
I understand, excuse me, I understand from my client that there was an opinion given by council already. I don't know, is that correct?
I don't know, but
Okay.
I'm going to be looking
To
for
me, to my knowledge, we didn't get anything
Did
right.
we request anything from council on this?
Oh, maybe there was a meeting, not a formal opinion, then.
As a result of the approach to the commission under other or informal, Jonathan, town engineer, myself, land use administrator, and town council were charged with potentially trying to work out an arrangement to
Right.
get the C of O. So we did meet at that time. Council's opinion, and this wasn't anything that was in writing or that was issued, was that it seemed that the commission wanted to, it was their desire to not waive the particular condition, so she attempted to facilitate that. this is how it would take place. If you wanted to do that, it would have to be bonded, et cetera. So I believe, and again, if you want to defer to town council for a written opinion or a verbal opinion, whatever you want, but to put on the record, that's fine. But I believe the whole premise was she felt that you had a right to stick to your guns, so to speak, on the condition. So that was her premise at the meeting.
Jim,
So that's what we had, but that was not a written opinion or what have you that was there.
But unless, and I apologize, what's your name? Attorney
Schellenberg.
Schellenberg. I think Attorney Schellenberg's position is that, yes, we could say we don't want to give a waiver, which is what, when we're doing it informally, she's saying, this is another application, you got to act in this application, you don't have the right to say no to this application.
That's right. I don't see
understand
this
that's
as a
your position,
waiver,
I get
right.
it. I don't know that that's right,
I understand.
and I don't know how we would know that that's right without asking our counsel whether that's right. If that's right, so be it.
Right, because-
If she says, on the other hand, no, this is a way to circumvent what was previously granted, which is possible that, I have no idea, I haven't spoken with her. But for me, if that's our counsel, I would seek that counsel before we made a decision.
Because
That's
she-
just my take on it.
Because town council was making the decision on not on the re-subdivision plan that we have before us now. She was making it on the original, correct?
That's the first statement.
Was this in front of her at the time you guys had that meeting?
No.
Okay.
And I think we
So
gotta
then
get
I
an
think
opinion on
we need to get an
Because
opinion.
That's fair.
I think you tried to say, okay, you didn't get there, this is your attempt to get there, I think
Right.
she should respond to this.
You want to make a motion to that right now? We'll talk
Well, I
about
would
this.
just move that we continue it, I don't know any other way to
We'll
do it,
continue
until
this
next
to
month
table.
and get an opinion from council.
Conditioned on obtaining an opinion from town council.
That's what I would do.
So,
Can you do a temporary sale and get the buyer in the house during this, please?
What's that? I'm sorry?
Can you get a temporary seal?
They're not on the record, you can't do that.
We have our buyer Jeff here tonight, and he'd like to move in with his family. He's been patiently for over 90 days, maybe more.
We can't give you a CO.
Can we do a temporary seal?
We have
We have no power to do
no
that.
power to do that.
the opinion of town council was, you want the C of O, you got to provide the bond. If there's a question about waiving the condition, okay, you can refer that as a separate question as you
That's a
ask.
separate issue. That-
Yeah.
The waiving is what we kind of talked about last time. And the way we came up with it, as I understood last time, is if we're going to go down there, you got to bond it. That's where I understood where we stood, unless we got something new. That's where I thought Mr. Penton came from the beginning, was like, did anything change? And I didn't see anything has changed, so I don't know what we can do. We can't issue COs in any event, it's not our province.
All right, so it will be continued then to get
Well,
an opinion from
let's
town
take it.
I'll make a
council?
motion that we continue until we
Okay.
get an opinion from town council
can I get-
on this
There's-
application.
I know. I'll get to that, Teresa. Can I get a second on Jim's motion?
Do we want to
But you can't,
vote before?
you don't want to vote on it until you
It's
hear.
okay, I'm going to have it. I'm just going to, okay, we'll wait. We'll go your way.
Yeah,
Yes.
let's wait. I'll withdraw my motion.
Okay, withdraw. Is there anyone here who would like to speak in opposition to this?
In opposition to what?
You want to speak?
What you're saying, yeah, I do.
In opposition?
In opposition to what?
I'm sorry?
In opposition to what?
They're requesting to have the condition requiring the public water go north on Kings Highway for 450 feet removed. That's what they want. So if you are opposed to that, he's asking for your comments at this time.
I'm
He's-
not opposed to what they are requesting.
Right.
Well,
I
then,
want to
You gotta speak
Would you
at this.
just ask her up to talk?
If you have any comment,
Yeah, I have a comment.
There we go.
I have a
Sure.
comment.
yep.
Elizabeth McElrath, 230 Kings Highway.
Hold on, please. Spell your last name.
Capital MC, capital ELRATH.
And your address?
230 Kings Highway. King, like a queen.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. I just want to say, I think that their request for what they want to do for the water thing I think it's totally reasonable. I guess it's unusual, and I don't agree with what you're saying. This proposition that was made I'm not explaining it very well because I'm not used to coming to these meetings. This is the first one that I've ever been to. But the way I understand it, I think the way that they have presented it to you is very reasonable. It's well thought out. They're not asking for a lot. They've gone through it the right way. The Maneris are decent people. They went to school with my son. There's no wild parties. If there were, I wish they would have invited me, but I'm too old anyway, so. And I think it should be given to them. I just think it's I know you're using the word right. I just think it's the right, decent thing to do. And if it's not ruled, I don't like that word ruled, in their favor, I just think that would just be wrong. That's all I have to say.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay. I don't know where to, is there anybody else who would like to speak in opposition to this? Wait a minute, please, let me just get this thing out. Anyone else in opposition? Anybody in favor? Okay, sir, come on.
Jeffrey Wolf, WOLF. Homeless. I do not have an address at the moment. I'm staying with family in Shelton, so I'm commuting 3 hours daily with my family. So essentially this started, I wasn't prepared to talk and I'm not sure about the formal protocol, so I'll do my best. Okay. It started when we first put the bid on the house in February. Weren't aware of any issues with the water main. Our closing date was scheduled for April. It's now August. We understand what the commission of the board is trying to accomplish with the water line where it needs to be extended, where it was originally zoned, but not to pull at any heartstrings here, but I'm just going to tell you a little bit of fact. I'm father of 3 children, 2 of which are extreme special needs. They are in a home right now in Shelton where we can't get our ABA to come and meet with them because it's too far of a distance to travel. Now, we are doing things as much as we can through the North Haven School District, and we came to North Haven because of 7 and 8 out of 10s. We want them in their special needs program. We need a home base for them to be able to thrive because we've had significant regression in my children's health, in my children's lives, because they don't have a place to call their home. It's unfortunate this issue has come up, and I'm sorry, it's ripped our family to shreds that we don't have a place to call our home. When my child says to me, "Daddy, can we go home?" and I can say, "No, we don't have anywhere to go." Now, if whatever this commission needs to do to get my family into this house with a C of O, I would please ask you to grant that, because we need a place to call our home. We need to send our children to your North Haven school systems. We need to have a home base of operations for our children to grow and thrive so they don't regress, so they can continue to get to what they need in life. They're 8-year-old twin boys. They have a condition that is so rare that 125 kids are diagnosed with this condition in the world. We've been to Yale Medical. We've been to all these places. We need a home base to show them, to say, this is what you're going to do. You're going to come home at 4 o'clock. You're going to meet with your ABA specialist. You're going to go from 4 to 6. We're going to get you to the town water park. We're going to get you here. We're going to get you there, bed by 8. If I'm in a place that's not home, if I'm trying to piece that together, they keep regressing and regressing and regressing. And as a father, I can't stand to see that anymore. It is ripping our family apart. It's ripping our elderly mother and father-in-laws apart because they don't have the needs to care for our children. And we're doing everything we can, and our home base is within this 15-mile radius of this building. So again, I'm asking you as a concerned parent to do what you can for myself to get me into this home with a C of O, any possible means that can be decided upon today, so that we can move our family in. If it's a bond or rezoning, that we need to have that done today, because my heart is pounding through my chest right now because I'm thinking of my children when I go back to the house and say, Daddy couldn't help you out. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, sir. Anyone else who would like to speak in favor? Okay, you want to speak in favor this time?
Tom White, Summer Lane. I'm in favor of what's being proposed. It seems to me that it's much more reasonable than what existed before. If I'm hearing correctly, the original plan called for a greater distance to run the water than is proposed now. Is that correct? If that's the case, I think his plan is much better, and I think you should move forward with an approval. I don't believe that legal counsel is going to give you anything that's going to shed any great light on it, or you making the decision to approve it is going to harm the town in any way or that neighborhood. So I'm in support of it. I love single-family development in this town when it's done right. So I'm in support.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you. Anyone else like to speak in favor? Okay. Anyone else from the commission have any comments? Okay, we'll keep this public hearing open. We're going to continue it, and we're going to get some input from town council.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. We have one site plan, 7th, it's P1825. Now, we have anybody here for that? We do. That's that one, with the 7 years.
Sidewalks, yeah.
Okay, you got it?
They're coming.
Okay.
Yeah, oh, this is. I get it. This is completely. I'm with you. Okay.
If they don't do it, sure was that dated. I didn't see that.
That's why I was pointing it out.
Yeah. Yes, by all means, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, that's okay. You guys look like you're busy. Good evening. My name is Susan Hayes. I'm with Updike, Kelly and Spellacy, 100 Pearl Street, Hartford, Connecticut. Here tonight on behalf of Yale New Haven Hospital. And what we have in front of you tonight is a site plan application for modification to 6 Divine Street. It's mostly primarily modifications to the site, the access drives and some of that. What we're going to do is, where are you? We're going to have Eric Lindquist from Ty and Bond come up and talk about the site modifications that are proposed as part of the application. We also have Norm Benjamin here, who's with Yale New Haven Health. If you have any questions, he's not going to be making any kind of specific presentation, but if you have any questions, he's here to answer them. Sound good?
Good enough.
Thanks.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Eric Lindquist. I'm the project manager at Time Bond and a licensed professional engineer in the state of Connecticut. So just to orient ourselves, as I'm pretty sure we're all familiar with the site at this point, Divine Street being right here, the main crux of what we're trying to do here is improvements because we're changing some of the floor plan inside and the layout inside the building, and as part of that, we're going to be improving the site both for our utilities as well as for functionality of the drop-off and patient delivery to the hospital. So basically, what we've done here is we maintain all this main site access through the site and the parking as we show. But the drop-off currently, if you've been out there, you'll see is there's a roundabout here with a drop-off here, and it's very difficult because as you drive in, obviously you want to drop off on the right side of your car, and this is on the left side, so you'd have to drive around. So it's very confusing for people, and it's not very patient-friendly, so we wanted to improve upon that. So we're going to be reworking and having the front of the building right here, and this is going to be the main drop-off and entry with a canopy. And we're going to be having this changed to a one-way circulation through here so that people can drive in and then drop off right along this area here, deliver the patient, and then find a spot throughout the site or come back and pick up later on, or however they want to do it. So that's basically the layout of how the parking's going to work, or I'm sorry, the circulation for the vehicles. In addition to that, we've looked at some other site improvements, which is on the west side of the building here. There's going to be a new pedestrian ramp for people to get down, and we've modified some parking spaces back here for some accessible spaces, as well as we've reoriented the accessible spaces around here. Before, they were lined up along this side of the building, but now that we're making this new drop-off, we've relocated those spaces along here, so they'll have nice, convenient access both to this entrance that we're still maintaining here, as well as to the new main entrance in this area. In terms of pedestrian circulation to the site, there's an existing sidewalk that comes into the site right here and pretty much dies at this point and then goes over to the east. We're looking to extend the sidewalk up here, and as you'll see as part of your package that just came on, we added as an amended drawing. We originally had the crossing in this area right here, but based on some more detailed grading we got of the site, it was really not being able to make that ramp accessible for handicapped people. So we're looking to extend the sidewalk down to here and cross over by the main entrance, which actually works better for us and we like better. But it is a slight change, and I've highlighted that here in orange from what was originally on the initial submission package. In addition to those site feature changes, like I said, there will be utility upgrades for the site. There's going to be a new generator located in this area, and we've been coordinating with UI. They're going to require additional poles over here with some equipment on them, which we will then service to the building and to the generator supply that will feed back to the building. We'll also have another transformer that is going to be located in this area. The most significant change you'll see on the drawing from what's out there now is there's also going to be an oxygen storage area out in this location that's up here. And many of the improvements you'll see is for the delivery truck to get around here and then back up into this place. So as we talk about parking for the site, one of the most significant changes is in this area, and this is where some of the spaces are going to be lost. As part of our application, we did submit a parking study of the site, which we compared the overall parking evaluation of the site with ITE models, as well as a case study at the Guilford facility, which is a very similar facility to this. We took out and looked at the overall parking for that site and what the demand was for that facility and applied it to this one. And based on the number of spaces we have here, we're confident that there is ample parking to provide for the uses that we're showing on site. That memo was included, like I said, with the initial application for the site. But in all, we're losing about 23 spaces when it comes to losing for these guys here, and then a couple spaces were lost to allow for the circulation of the oxygen delivery truck, as well as for the generator enclosure right in that area. Other than that, drainage. So the overall intent on the drainage design for the site is to mimic what's out there right now. We're really not doing many improvements in terms of impervious coverage change. We're actually reducing the amount of impervious coverage as we kind of went through when we went to the wetlands. We're pulling all of our stuff outside of the wetlands, or we're making significant reductions, I should say, within the regulated area that's outside of the wetlands. So that's a definite improvement on that end. And so we're reducing impervious coverage on the site, but we're maintaining the same drainage patterns. We're not adding any new drainage structures or any new drainage piping, with the exception of a roof leader over here for the canopy. But we're going to follow the same patterns that goes into the DOT drainage swale along over here. The overland flow that goes and gets collected by the various catch basins throughout the site will still drain out to the wetlands in this area. One improvement we did add was that there's new bioswale through here. So as sheet runoff comes off the site, we'll maintain the leak offs that are out there now. We'll go into the swale, will allow a level of infiltration that goes back into the ground and improves the water quality before it goes to the wetlands. So by reducing the amount of impervious coverage, as well as providing some level of mitigation for the stormwater runoff, is a general improvement for the site. And I guess the last thing I'd really like to touch on is that we have shown on here the extension and the creation of the sidewalk along Devine Street, which we'd also was part of a prior application, which we are going to make sure is constructed as part of this one as well. So if you have any questions on that, I'd be more than happy to answer.
So just to make sure I understand, the offer to put the sidewalk on Divine Street is essentially ahead of schedule. You're going to do it as part of this work.
Correct. The sidewalk is, we already reviewed it with the DOT. It actually will end up being slightly different than this. There'll be a ramp that's over here. They want to relocate it so that's perpendicular to the travelway on Harvard Turnpike. We're going to have to relocate the push signal that's right there now to be beside of that. But overall, the same approach to this is consistent, and that's what we got the approval with them for, and we're going to be going to pull the encroachment permit, because we just got the letter, I think, a couple days ago, on Thursday or something last week. So now that we're available to, we can go get the encroachment permit and go ahead and start that work.
Jonathan, did you have any comments about their parking conclusions?
No, I'm fine with that.
I have no other questions.
You don't have,
Go ahead.
go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I didn't have anything.
On the sidewalks, the sidewalks are, now that's the sidewalk from the old plan, right, that we're talking about?
This one right here?
Yes.
Correct. That's
Yeah.
that's pretty much what was shown on the old plan, almost exactly on the submitted drawings. But like I said, as we've reviewed it with the DOT, they did want to see some modifications, how that was
Okay,
crossing.
well, you're not tying that into this approval here, so we should go back to starting. You're about 7 years out on that, are you?
No, they're going to do it now.
I know, I want to hear him tell me.
You told me that.
And again, what he's asking, or what I would be asking,
Yeah,
is
go
that
ahead,
was
go ahead,
approved in
Jim.
2011. Why are we 7 years later and nothing's been done on the sidewalks?
It's just
I've
has,
asked about that repeatedly to our zoning enforcement person who was supposedly spoken to Yale Haven Hospital and had been told these things were going to happen. I don't know why it's taking 7 years. So when you offer, I see in the letter, we say we can make it a condition of approval. It's already a condition of approval, of the earlier approval, and it didn't get done. Till now, weren't legally required to.
Right.
You had nine years, I think, right?
I think it expires in 19 or 20 or something like that.
Huh?
I think it expires in 2020 technically.
Right. But why, though? I mean, that, and I've been asking about this for a long time, because I drive on that road a lot. And there are people on the street on that road a lot.
Right.
And I don't like them on this that street.
And we don't
because-
either. We want to get this in as soon as humanly possible. Like I said, we're trying to get that started by the end of next
So
month.
how do we make sure that that's going to happen? Because we were told it was going to happen in 2011. That's my only reservation. I don't have any problem with the park, and I don't have a problem with this whole application. Yale Haven Hospital's done a great job there. I've been there. It's a nice site. I don't have any problem with any of these modifications. I just want to get the sidewalks in.
We
So
can make it conditional on getting it done in a certain time frame.
you tell me. I would be happy to do that.
It would be a question of when the hospital would be willing to set up that timeframe. I'd have to talk with the contractor and see how quickly they can get it done. Like I said in the letter that Norm had prepared, the idea is to get it started in September. However long it's going to take them to do that, a couple months. I'd imagine it's going to be done before
All I'm
winter.
asking is give me a reasonable time, because I don't want to wait till the end of the time if it's an option.
I mean, what I would suggest, because I don't know that any of us know exactly how long it's going to take, we do have the approval from DOT with respect to the plans that we've proposed. They still have to, the contractor has to go in, get a bond, get his insurance, and pull the permit and start. So I would suggest, we need to, I think we would probably say June 30th. Does that work? I mean, because if we can't get it, if we know, well, I was gonna say, if we can't get it done in this paving season, then we're shut out all the way until April. So that's my concern. It's not, like, we don't have a full 12 months in a year to get something done.
That's not really true. You can pour concrete in the winter. My condition would be, get it done in 2018, we don't care how.
Yeah, that's what I would say too.
Right. That's my only issue.
My name is Norm Benjamin, Senior Project Manager with Yale New Haven Health. Yes, I understand that this is ancient history. It certainly is to myself. Although I've only been with Yale New Haven for 3 years, I have commitment from the higher-ups that this will get done this year, and I would have no problem committing till the end of 2018 for its completion.
Fine by me. Good enough.
Thank you.
That's the end of 18, I didn't quite-
18,
Yeah,
yeah.
18, okay, 18's good enough. That's good enough. Thank you.
And if that becomes impossible, come and tell us it's impossible. We're not looking to be
Nothing's
unreasonable, we
impossible.
just want it to happen.
It only
Or I-
costs more.
Sure will.
We do too.
Yeah. I don't have any other questions.
I have no
You got any
other questions,
questions?
no.
Jim, Ed, Ron? Nothing, right? Nothing from you either, right? Okay, very good.
Thank you.
Staff, you got any questions? Okay, thank you. We'll close this site plan hearing. Okay. And a motion to go into deliberation.
I'll make a motion to go into deliberation.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We took care of the, of 218-23S, that's taken care of.
You did?
Yeah, that's the,
Well,
the,
you're on 94 Chapel Hill?
yeah.
We did take care of that?
Yeah,
What did
I
we
thought-
do?
No, nothing's been voted on at
Oh,
all.
we didn't get, we didn't get that,
Did I
okay.
miss something?
Okay, well then, Jim, you were on that one there, you want to get the language together on
Well, Alan,
to make that 1 year?
So this is the special permit application?
Yes, the special
So I make
permit.
a motion that we approve the special permit, I
A
can't read that.
relocation of school,
To-
1 year.
as a-
Yeah.
To allow the relocation of the school to be done within 1 year. Is that what we're looking for? Does that make sense?
The approval itself would only last 1 year, so you don't need to
I
add
don't know
that.
if you need the time frame on it, but you could,
But we're approving the special permit as a relocation of the school. Therefore, school can be opened if they need it, and if they do, it's a relocation, would come from the other spot. If they can open the other spot, they still can remain at the other school, correct?
right. And articulating that the school would be on the lower level only, the residents on the upper level.
And
That's
my
correct.
motion to approve the special permit that the school be on the lower level, so the residences will be on the upper level, and no more than 15 students.
Good enough.
I'll second
You'll
that.
second that? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Good. Okay, thank you. Okay, let me get over that's taken care of. We just got to go down to...
Now, did you need to vote to just continue subject to getting town council's opinion relative to 217 Kings Highway?
Yeah. Do we need to? I'd be happy to do that. Now, let me make it clear, though. I mean, we don't issue building permit or COs, but they could still get a bond and get their put up a bond and get their CO. Is that accurate?
I believe it is.
Yes.
So I'll make a motion, we continue that application to get town council's input.
A second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, opposed? Good. Okay, that's taken care of. Then we get down to the one we just heard. Can I get a motion to accept Divine Street, that's the hospital haven, the Elder Haven Hospital?
I'll make a motion to approve the application with the condition that all sidewalks, including along Divine Street, be completed before the end of 2018.
All street sidewalks.
Street sidewalks.
Right? They're internal sidewalks they're
That's their
proposing,
business.
that's another matter.
Right.
Okay.
No, I'm good, that's all right.
Yeah, you're right.
I'll just,
It's got to be street
Yep.
sidewalks, that's where it goes. They can't.
Well, I said all sidewalks. I understand what Alan's saying. So are you recommending that I modify my motion?
Yes.
Okay. I will modify my motion to accept the proposal, accept the application with the condition that the sidewalk on Divine Street be completed, and Hartford Turnpike be completed before the end of calendar 2018.
Good enough. I'll have a second.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, very good.
Were there any staff comments? Those are automatically.
Oh,
Correct.
Right. Okay, we have an extension on 98 Patton Road.
That road?
Good night.
Go ahead.
Good night,
I'm
folks.
just going to recuse myself from this.
Well, you just sit here because it's going to take a
She
second.
wants to go.
I have to go.
Oh, okay, good enough.
I make a motion to approve the extension. I read the
Okay,
application.
second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Okay, correspondence,
you just received the newsletter.
Yeah.
You can read at your leisure.
I like those newsletters, actually.
Yeah, it's good to get some of those legal updates and
Yeah.
such, and I'm glad they send them, and I'm glad we were able to get them out to you.
Okay. Can I get a motion to, whatever, on the,
Well, don't we have, we don't do anything.
Just the minutes, that's all.
Correspondence, then there's minutes.
and the minutes, yeah.
I make a motion to approve the minutes of July 2nd.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Anything else?
You.
Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Thank you so much, folks.
The preceding program is brought to you in part through a grant from the town of North Haven. Watch town meetings or other videos on demand at nhtv.com.